Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky returned to the United States yesterday and gave a speech at the United Nations meeting in New York City, where he lectured us about climate change.
Humanity is failing on its climate policy objectives. This means that extreme weather will still impact the normal global life, and some evil state will also weaponize its outcomes.
By the way, this is not a deep fake. This really is him. This really was part of his speech.
And when people in Morocco and Libya and other countries die as a result of natural disasters, and when islands and countries disappear underwater, and when tornadoes and deserts are spreading into new territories, and when all of this is happening,
you know, I do feel bad for the Ukrainian people for what's happening over there. And I also feel bad that this is their president, because it's almost like he's trying to get people to support Russia. He's here, however, for the same reason he came last time, to beg for more money, because Congress is about to vote whether or not to give them another $24 billion. This when the national debt has just reached $33 trillion. Or to put it into perspective, because it's impossible to even fathom that kind of money, that's the equivalent of every single taxpayer in this country owing $250,000. So every single adult in this country has the equivalent of a mortgage that they owe on a, well, I guess what used to be a nice house in many parts of the country a few years ago until the inflation, on top of their own personal liabilities. Our country is broke. We don't have any money. The only reason that we can continue to pretend to pay our bills is because they keep raising the debt limit, which is the equivalent of if you maxed out your credit card and ran out of money, instead of cutting your spending and getting a part-time job to try to get things under control, you just beg the credit card company to raise the debt limit and then keep spending. Of course, Mike Pence, who I keep forgetting is running for president because he's that insignificant, supports giving Ukraine and other foreign countries our money, saying the isolationist Republicans, that's the neocon talking point for those who don't want to stick their nose in other countries' business. We're the isolationists. We just want to isolate America. The isolationist Republicans say that America should retreat from her leadership position, turn inward, and focus solely on domestic concerns. Yes, absolutely, Mike. Anyone who says that America cannot solve our problems at home and be the leader of the free world has a pretty small view of the greatest nation on earth. I'm sorry, Mike, but the greatest nation on earth is about to collapse, just like the Roman Empire, which also debased their currency because they ran out of money and just kept kicking the can down the road until, well, the bill came due. Speaking of giving foreign countries billions of dollars a year in our tax dollars under the guise of aid, here's Nancy Pelosi admitting the quiet part out loud about what the Republican and Democrat establishment think of the practice.
I have said to people when they ask me if this Capitol crumbled to the ground, the one thing that would remain is our commitment to our aid, and I don't even call it aid, our cooperation with Israel. That's fundamental to fundamental.
You're not allowed to say you disagree with that, otherwise, well, you know what happens to people. But you can read about it in my new book, which is coming out in about 2 months. The military-industrial complex is comprised of both political parties, Republicans and Democrats, but Ukraine has taken a page out of the liberal playbook and has been watching too many of those woke Department of Defense recruiting commercials that we've all seen over the last few years, because this is literally their official English spokesperson for the Ukrainian armed forces. I didn't know what to make of this person when I first started seeing these videos. I thought maybe it's a Dylan Mulvaney type of person LARPing on social media, but this is real.
This is Sergeant Sarah Ashton Cirillo of the Armed Forces of Ukraine. There has been much discussion recently related to my role within the Armed Forces of Ukraine. Before answering some of the questions put forward by Senator Vance of Ohio, I'd like to thank all those in the U.S. who are supporting the Ukrainian people. Senator Vance recently asked the U.S. Director of National Intelligence, along with the Secretaries of State and Defense, if I was working in some capacity for the American government. Simply put, I'm an American serving as a Ukrainian infantry soldier and combat medic who was brought from the zero line and assigned to the TDF's media team in the dual role of spokesperson and Russian disinformation analyst. The remaining speculation surrounding me is disappointing.
I'm sorry, but Ukraine is not a serious country. This is who they chose to represent them to the entire English-speaking world. So C3P Meme, who is, I would say, the greatest meme maker on planet Earth, altered the video and did the impossible. He actually made it even more cringeworthy.
Senator Vance recently asked the U.S. Director of National Intelligence, along with the Secretaries of State and Defense, if I was working in some capacity for the American government. Simply put, I'm an American serving as a Ukrainian infantry soldier and combat medic who was brought from the zero line and assigned to the TDF's media team in the dual role of spokesperson and Russian disinformation analyst. The remaining speculation surrounding me is disappointing. While in Ukraine, we are fighting for global liberty and the ideology of victory.
And while we're speeding towards financial insolvency to help protect Ukraine's borders, this is what's going on our border.
Emily.
Oh, here you go. You got people coming in now. Take a look at this. A lot of young adult men being let through now.
Okay, this isn't the border over in some third world country in Africa. This is our southern border with Mexico. I don't remember who said it. I saw it on Twitter, but somebody made the point that they missed the good old days where the illegal aliens coming in the southern border were Latino. And when a country is conquered, the victors tear down all of the symbols representing the old regime and replace them with their own symbols. And so the city council in New York City is deciding whether or not to tear down all statues and artwork of George Washington now on public property. You may recall 2 years ago, they voted and tore down a statue of Thomas Jefferson that had been standing in the New York City Hall for 187 years. And remember when the media said that this was outrageous?
You had people in that group that were there to protest the taking down of, to them, a very, very important statue and the renaming of a park from Robert E. Lee to another name. No, George Washington was a slave owner. Was George Washington a slave owner? So will George Washington now lose his status? Are we going to take down, excuse me, are we going to take down statues to George Washington? How about Thomas Jefferson? What do you think of Thomas Jefferson? You like him? Okay, good. Are we going to take down the statue? Because he was a major slave owner. Now we're going to take down his statue.
Well, not us, but them, yeah. So obviously it turned out that Donald Trump was right again. And remember to order your Wanted for President shirt from my online store at markdice.com or click the link in the description below, now updated with the authentic Donald Trump mugshot. So head on over to markdice.com or click the link in the description below and check them out.